Hi, it's Alexis. Welcome to this video. In today's video, we're going to talk about anxious attachment style. And it's very important for you to understand this concept if you want to get back with your ex, because you might be doing the wrong things because you're perhaps an anxious attachment style, and what you're doing is actually preventing you getting back with your ex. Maybe your ex is an anxious attachment style, and again, what you have to do is very different. So of course, all the tips that I share on my channel are relevant, but when you deal with that anxious attachment style, it's slightly different. You'll see there's a few distinctions. You'll see towards the end very practical tips that you can follow. Today we're going to start at how to recognize if someone has this anxious attachment style, whether it's you or your partner, because knowing, I'm a strong believer that knowing is the first step for you to make change in your life and for you to get back with your ex, because at the end of the day, that's my job, that's what I do every day. I'll see you after the jingle.
IGetMyExBack.com. Everyone deserves a second chance.
So, why this little dog? If we were to describe an anxious attachment style, I would say that's a dog. A dog is all about his master. He's waiting behind the door every day, and his life is only about whether his master will care for him, will love him, will cuddle him, right? The other attachment style, avoidant attachment style, is a cat, which is more independent, wants its freedom, and just want to go back home when you have food. A dog, all his life is about the other. He only sees his value in the eyes of others. So, of course, it's just to make a point. I'm not saying that your dog or your partner is a dog, but it's just for you to understand. And we're going to look at the 8 signs or 8 things that could be describing someone who has this anxious attachment style. The first one is feeling insecure in a relationship. Before I explain this, I just want to remind you that I put together a quiz for you to know if you have any chance to get back with your ex. It's totally free. It takes literally 2 minutes, and the idea is for you to be clear about, and I want to manage your expectations, right? If you're watching my videos and statistically there's 1% chance, even like less than 1% chance for you to get back with your ex, I don't want you to waste your time trying to get back with them. I want you to invest your time in building a new relationship with someone else. And I know a lot of people, statistically 30% of people, want to get back with the ex, but there's actually no way they get back together. And I'd rather you spend 2 minutes of your time taking the quiz, making sure that you have a score above 15. And if you do, well, you can continue watching the video because it's relevant for you. And you'll see it's very relevant if your ex is anxious, has the anxious attachment style, or whether you have this anxious attachment style. So the feeling of insecurity, it's always this voice in your head that you're not good enough for your partner, that the other, that I doesn't deserve to be with that person. And whenever you have a discussion with your partner, it's really difficult because they see things as negative feedback. They see this as you're challenging them, you're basically reducing their value, lowering their value, and they always want reassurance that about their value, and they define their value in how people see them. A little bit like the dog who's always interested in what people do for him. The second one is the fear of abandonment, really typical. And of course, these attachment styles took these the source from childhood trauma and potential past relationships. It's different, you don't need to have a trauma or a really bad childhood to be anxious attachment style. It could be because of different relationships, but it's really this fear of abandonment is really also a really strong sign of people who's anxious attachment style. So really scared that your partner will leave them even when nothing is wrong. So again, any sign that the partner is drifting away will make them more anxious. And so the fear and worry that your partner will leave you, and if it will leave them, often result to become overly dependent on your partner. because you feel that if I leave him going on a trip with friends on the weekend, he's gonna find someone and he's gonna dump me, you know. Of course, it's an extreme thought, but this is exactly what's going on in someone who has an anxious attachment style. Now, the thing is, these styles, I'm a strong believer, and there's been studies about the subject, that it's not set in stone. It's not because you have this anxious attachment style that you'll be anxious all your life. I think I'm a strong believer that people can change if they have the willing, the motivation to change and the support to change. So if you feel that you need any help, if you have any questions on this content or just want to have a chat, I have 50-minute discovery call in my diary every day. It's totally free. Click on the link in the description and we can have a discussion about whether your ex is anxious, you're anxious, how you can manage this anxiety, how you could take the tips that you see in those videos and apply it for your life. And again, it's all about, first step is to understand, knowing, learning, and that's what you do, which is great. Second step is really into action. And the third is result, i.e. getting back with your ex. So third one is obviously trust issues. People who have this anxious attachment style have massive trust issue. It's finding hard to believe when your partner say they won't leave you. Anything that you say, they'll feel like, yeah, but he says that because he doesn't want to hurt me. He says that because there's something behind. There's always this fear, these thoughts, these voices in his or her head that actually, but he's not really truth with me. He's putting a mask or telling another story just to protect me or just because he's hiding a cunning plan or something like that. Always the same also with friends, thing that, so I've coached someone who was bullied when she was younger, and she thought that all of her friends were just friends because out of interest, and she was thinking that whenever she was not in the room, they were saying bad things about her. They were mocking her. And because she was replaying this time when she was bullied as a teenager. And we worked together a few weeks, few months actually, and for her to really reduce those voices, understand that actually when people are with her, her partner, her friends, they love her, they care for her, they only have her good interest at heart, and they are nothing against her, that she could sort of develop and feel better with herself, feel better with her partner, trusting her partner more, being less dependent, and basically having a more of a balanced relationship with him. Clinginess, obviously, you just want to be next to that person. It's a sort of a coping mechanism because you don't want to be alone. You hate being alone. So if you feel that after this breakup, it is so hard on you because you feel like you need to fill a void because you can't be alone, maybe it's because you have a tendency to be anxious attachment style. Now, if your ex is, for example, dating someone really random after the breakup, just a week after you broke up, you've been together 10 years, and you see that he or she is dating someone just after a week, this could be because they have this massive anxious attachment style and they don't see the life being alone because they need someone, they need to cope that anxiety with someone who would basically show them how valuable they are. Emotional neediness, so always needs people's attention. The same, if you look at the dog, they always want to be there. They always want to play with everyone when they're in the room. They hate to be alone. So could be, the source could be you didn't receive the proper emotional nurturing and security as a child. And so you constantly seek reassurance. Typical thing would be, do you love me? Are you happy with me? Can I be with you? All these kind of things. If you feel that you always have to ask those questions to your partner, again, you might be an anxious attachment style. Same if your ex, you feel that your ex or your partner says these things a lot, it means that they might be attachment style. And harsh reactions to criticism, we mentioned that a little bit. Anytime you say something to your partner, they'll take it really badly. And the reason they take it badly, because they see it as rejection. This is the worst thing for them, is rejection. And it is potentially why you might be suffering a lot right now after a breakup. If you have this anxious attachment style, after a breakup, you will react 10 times worse than someone who's less anxious, because you feel this as a rejection. You feel that you have no value because you base your value in the eyes of your partner. And so a breakup, a criticism, anything like that will see it as a rejection. And therefore, what's going to happen is your esteem will reduce dramatically and you end up with that low self-esteem. Now, the thing is, with self-esteem rejection, this is temporary. The fact that you feel really low in terms of self-esteem, the fact that you feel like shit right now, you can work on that. It is temporary. It will stick with you if you don't do anything about it. It will stick with you and you lose that confidence for years and years if you don't work on this. These are only voices in your head. These are only stories in your head that you're replaying, maybe from childhood trauma, maybe from past experiences. These are just things that you're telling yourself. You can change narrative. So how you do, you take a therapist, a counselor, a coach like myself to really see how you could, take those stories and smash them in the head. Because at the end of the day, these are only stories. The way you perceive a breakup is different than someone else, someone more secure. And it's not because they are smarter, it's just because they are telling themselves different stories. You can do that. It is possible for everyone. It has nothing to do with your willpower, nothing to do with your IQ. It's just about how you consistently and with motivation do the right things and have the right support to overcome those things. The seventh sign is the ambivalence towards intimacy. You crave intimacy, but at the same time, it's overwhelming. So it's really like the fine line between craving and fearing emotional and physical intimacy. Because whenever you're not with your partner, you feel like, I need to see him, I need to be with him. But then when you get too close, you feel like, maybe it's too much. Maybe we are going too fast. And this could be because in your childhood or maybe in past relationship, emotional neglect, and therefore you feel the need to be emotionally connected with someone, and it's you're very sort of clumsy towards intimacy with your partner. Feeling unworthy, we mentioned that really about the value. Feeling unworthy of love, not good enough for a relationship. You tell yourself that you're not good enough, you're not made to be in a relationship, you're weird, you're not good enough. So again, this low level of self-esteem and negative voices that you have in your head. Again, this is only a story you tell yourself. Nobody is better than, we're all different. You all have your value. You have friends, you had an ex who loved you. So why would you challenge yourself not being worth, right? If you were 65 and be single for most of your life, can't really find anyone to date or have sex with, maybe you can be sad and not confident and low self-esteem. But if you dated people, if you had a relationship with those people, it means that you have some kind of value, right? So stop talking about yourself, stop diminishing yourself. And again, if it's your ex, really try to understand why they have this feeling of unworthy. So now we're going to get into action. Take some paper and pen. We're going to see what you should be doing. So how to behave if your ex is anxious, and the next slide is what you should do if you're anxious. It's really about showing support, showing that you care. Over communication. Anxious attachment style, they hate silence. And so that's why radio silence in some occasion with those people, and again, it depends on cases. So if you're not sure, give me a call. Because you don't want to, make dreadful mistakes. Show empathy, patience. It's really about how you create that safe space to show them your love, to show them their value, to also teach them that they can be happy without you, which is a bit weird in a way, but as a couple, it's very important to nurture how you can be independent. because a codependent relationship is very hard to manage and sustain over the long term. If you look at studies about people who've been married for more than 50 years, you always see that they have their own friends, they had their own stuff, they were independent, they were flexible, they were not only 24/7 together. Even if they were doing the same jobs, you'll see they have other things going on. It's really about how you can detach yourself, re-energize yourself, or rediscover yourself, rebalance yourself on your own. Now, what you should be doing if you're anxious? Look at the big picture. Again, these are voices, these are things, framework that you're replaying from your childhood perhaps. Pause and understand the thought process. Whenever you have these emotions, this anxiety creeping inside you, what does that mean? Why are you feeling this way? Visualize someone who you feel is more secure and try to see how he would react or how she would react. Find ways to be balanced and happier alone. Activities, hobbies, discussion with a coach. Really try to take time for yourself. You don't need someone to be happy. It's a huge mistake that people make. Whether they're anxious or not anxious, you don't have to be with someone to be happy. Also, understand your true worth. Again, use your friends, your family, people who love you, and I'm sure you have people around you who love you. Understand your value. I know you feel really low right now, maybe after a breakup. You feel like you're worthless. Maybe 6 months from, 6 months ago, you would have seen things differently, but you're the same person. How come? It's just a story you tell yourself. Remember, you're the same person from now to 6 months ago. Maybe you went through depression. Maybe you had a hard time at work. Maybe you neglected your partner. There's nothing to do with your value. It has nothing to do with your value. It's only things to do with your behavior. Now, the question is what you do with this behavior, what you do right now. Do you stay like this? Or do you work on yourself? Do you make all the necessary steps to change, to really set a new bar, a new expectation for your life, to become the best version of yourself? And of course, now you feel low, you can really increase the bar. How you do it? Again, you find a coach. Maybe you need some sport. So get a PT to help you be more, to do more exercise, to be more active. Maybe it's more psychological. So get a coach, get a therapist, try to understand and get a proper action plan for you to feel better. Because that's what your ex will want to see if they're not anxious, if they're avoidant. And we're gonna do another video with avoidant attachment style, obviously. You have to be at your A game if you want to get back with your ex. You don't want to show that attachment style to them, because nobody is attracted by someone who has and shows this attachment style. Because when you come across as very needy, it becomes really creepy, and needy is also not very sexy. So you really need to work on that, because if you want to attract your ex and you're anxious, you have to show strengths. And again, how you shut down those voices: meditation, hypnosis. This is how you can really calm down those emotions, look at them from another point of view, and tame those emotions. Really change the narrative in your head to see things the right way. If you have any other questions, if you like this video, don't forget to click on the like button. It does help me a lot. You can also subscribe to the channel if you want to be notified anytime I post a new video. And if you have any questions about the subject, don't hesitate to comment. I reply to all the messages. See you next time. Bye bye.